In this video, you can actually learn the true ancient, arcane, originally intended and allegorized meaning of the end of the world or end of time, the Apocalypse or Revelation, and also the Beast 666. Yeah, very scary topics, right? Like, Jesus, we're getting scared again. Oh man, I'm scared already. Are you also scared yet? I hope not. Okay, so this video is not going to be any fast food, so hold on, the goodies are coming. But before we get into the goodies, we need to first dismantle and thoroughly expose the kind of ridiculous and insane modern superstitions, these nonsensical ideas in modern times about these topics that I just mentioned. I would say the Revelation text of the New Testament, which is book number 66, by the way, is probably the most misinterpreted and misunderstood text available at all, of all texts available. So theology is just delved into craziness in the last 1500 years. Academia is lost in space when it comes to mythology. And New Age is mostly like an attempt to revive something that the modern people don't even know what it truly is. So all of these modern people have no other choice. I mean, they're not left with any other choice but to take this text literal and historical. I mean, there's nothing left to do. And this is not wrong per se, but it's of the four levels of hermeneutical exegesis, this is the lower level, it's the earth level of understanding, and it'll get you nowhere at all in understanding anything of what this text truly means. So how should the world end? I mean, another Greek word for world is the cosmos. How should the cosmos end? I mean, by earthquakes and raining fire. Why? By whom? For what purpose? I mean, it's completely nonsensical. There's also this modern connotation of apocalyptic, in the sense of destruction or chaotic. This connotation is somewhat correct, but not in the material sense. And then we have end of time. I mean, time is not a thing. It's just a measuring rod. So it actually cannot have anything. It cannot have an end or a beginning. Time cannot have anything. And also cannot do anything. Time cannot act upon anything or can be acted upon. Because it's not even a thing. It's a conceptualization of man. Yeah? To understand basically distances in space, in 3D space. That's what time is all about. Yeah? So then the beast is always then seen, this must be something external, because I mean we're the human beings, and that beast must be somewhere and really, morally evil, or also 666, that number must be evil, even though we're being told it's a human number. Yeah, in the original text. So all of this modern nonsense we're going to tackle and dismantle, and I'll give you the proper hermeneutical interpretation for each of these. So first thing we need to say is that we're going into something called eschatology here. The eschatology, you can look that up, is a branch of theology also, or mythology. Eschatos means the last, like the final or furthest. And logy is the word, the logic or the study of. So this is the study of the last or the final things or the furthest things away. And it typically deals with things like death, resurrection, judgment, heaven and hell, and similar themes. Okay, which by the way are all allegories. Okay, we'll get to that later. So, these are in the original ideas. I'm talking about Egypt, Hindustan, Greece, Norse regions. These were everybody knew this was just allegorical, yeah, not literal and not historical, or not some sort of prophecy for the future, yeah. And this what always prevailed in all of these systems that had sanity in them was the idea of a cyclical renewal of nature, which is very much the correct view. Yeah. Now, closer to modern times we come, the crazier everything gets. So I'll mention just this on the example of the Old Testament and New Testament. Both are really not very well on the topic, but it just serves you to demonstrate how this decay of meaning goes about. So in the Old Testament, this was still allegorically correct, I would say, but the allegories were somewhat weak and simplistic and also sometimes out of place. But it talks about corruption, we'll get to that later, judgment, the restoration of Israel. I'll give you the secret to this in the very end of the video. Purification, idolatry, and this still follows somewhat natural order, you will see later on. And then in comes the kind of craziness of the New Testament in the text, but also in the clerical theological interpretation, which is just complete nuts. Okay, so Christianity was here with its clergy, and its text was here the first ever in human history to talk about like a final end, yeah, that would be irreversible, yeah, like the history would be closed, and there would be no restart, and would be just like hell and suffering then, yeah. This, of course, a lot of this is extra biblical. It was imposed on the minds of people by the clergy, yeah, in the Middle Ages and so forth, yeah. But it correctly does talk about judgment also. It's talking about then, this is very, I mean, this is a down point of the New Testament in total. It keeps talking about morality, moral nonsense, like defeating evil. I mean, that's just totally off topic. That's not a spiritual idea at all. It talks about a new heaven and an earth. That's correct, we'll see that. And then it talks about how in the end times there will be deception, persecution, suffering, cosmic disorder, and these are all somewhat correct, we will see. And also that the dead will be raised, and that is also correct, but it's not dead people, okay? I can already tell you. So let's just, I'm just going to show you the metaphysical model now, and the correct allegories. We'll go through all of them. And of course the word allegory is very difficult for modern academia to understand, because it is in itself an allegory. Yeah, look it up. Look up the etymology of allegory, and you will see that it is an allegory. Allegory means to speak in front of the zodiac. Yeah, so any analogy that does not occur in the zodiac is just an analogy. Anything labeled allegory would have to be symbolic in the zodiac, otherwise it's not an allegory. Okay. All right, let's start with the end of the world. I'm actually going to now show it to you. Here you see now the tropical view, and it shows the true solar year, the tropical view, and you see that on your left side you have Aries beginning, that's 21st of March, that's the beginning of the true solar year. And actually the 4 quarters you see here are the 4 seasons. So this view immediately gives you the true solar year. And this is the one relevant for all mythology and fairy tales and so forth. And you'll see on the left side, just beneath Aries, beneath the horizon, you see Pisces. And this is actually the end of the zodiac. Yeah, this is the end of time. This is the end of the world in the allegory. Yeah, because here the old sun dies, yeah, but is then reborn in Aries. If you look at this picture, you have Aries starting on the left. This is 6 a.m. So just imagine the sun rising in the morning, how it illuminates the world. Yeah, this is the beginning of the solar year, correctly. Yes, our New Year's Eve that we get is from the Egyptian tax calendar, yeah, where you have winter solstice as beginning of, or shortly after beginning of the New Year. This was just the Egyptian tax calendar. Okay, it's not natural to say New Year begins then in Capricorn. Okay, so we see here Pisces is actually the mainstream. I can tell you in the mystery system this is the mainstream. It's a water sign. It's mutable water is the mainstream. It's been known since thousands of years. It's the end of the zodiac, the end of the world, where all the horrible things happen. Just imagine what's happening in our mainstream world. This is ruled by Jupiter and co-ruled by Neptune, which is kind of a planet that reflects one's own illusions and errors to oneself, to make oneself believe they are true. And we have Venus exalting. And actually the motto also of Pisces is chaos. Yeah, so there's chaos at the end of the world. Opposite lies Virgo, which is order. Okay. All right. So we have the mainstream here in this mythology, also in the New Testament. This, by the way, is also the water that Jesus passes, that walks over. Yeah, Pisces rules the feet. But I don't want to digress too far. We have so much info here. So the mainstream is 10,000 of years old. And there's, of course, all craziness we heard earlier. There's persecution, there's murder, there's violence, there's corruption, and all of this. And you find this, for example, in mythology in the Odyssey by Homer. You also find it in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is the oldest religious scripture on earth. Yeah, and this in this Homer Odyssey, you get the idea, modern saying, to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Now, this is a multi-layered allegory, but I'll explain to you. So, the captain of the ship going through the mainstream waters has to choose between coming closer to there's two monsters. There's Scylla and Charybdis. So I'll tell you what both of them are. So he has to choose, do I go closer to this one or this one, yeah? So Scylla is like a hydra with many heads, and these are actually dog heads, and they also bark in the story. And here, you know, if the captain goes close to these, the monster would snatch a few sailors, but he can go on. And this is actually an allegory for the speech center. Yeah, the dog is always the speech center. And this is talking about language confusion in the mainstream. Yeah. The other choice is Charybdis. This is here a giant whirlpool. And actually that swallows you, and the entire ship would be lost with all sailors. So it's clearly better to go close to Scylla than to Charybdis. Now Charybdis is here actually the inflated ego, yeah, that is like a whirlpool and will just pull you under, and you have no way of passing the mainstream or coming out of it. And this is also constellated, we'll see that later, but it's constellated in Pisces as the beast. Yeah, this is Cetus, the beast. It's a huge inflated ego. So I showed you the bit of the model now, and which is universally used in all systems. Is also the key. I mean, this here, all these constellations and all of this, that's the key to all scripture, mythology, and fairy tales. Okay, so let's look at some other mythological expansions on Pisces that I thought of here. I just collected a few. First of all, Jupiter. I said Jupiter rules Pisces. Okay, he's also called the Rock of Ages. This is because Peter, and also the name Peter is like Petros, and Petros is Greek. This is written in Greek, New Testament. It's the rock, yeah? So we just look at the glyph here. I'll show you right here. Actually, you see on top you have a moon. That's the mind always. And below that is a cross. So this is actually mind over matter. The cross is always matter. So Jupiter is mind over matter. Yeah, this is the great rock of ages, or stepping stone that can help you out of the mainstream, and is also called the philosopher's stone because Jupiter also rules Sagittarius, the horse, and that's of course this sign of that's mutable fire, and that's the sign of philosophy. So he's also the philosopher's stone. Which you don't have to seek anymore. Now you know where it is. It's in Pisces and in Sagittarius. So we also then have in the Christian system here the Saint of Pisces. They're not telling you it's the Saint of Pisces, but now you learn it, is Saint Petrus. Again, it's the rock. Saint Petrus, I'll show him right here to you. You see him on this picture. he holds the 2 keys to heaven. Yeah, and also here on this Vatican coat of arms, you can see the 2 keys. It's a silver key and a golden key. Yeah, I'm just digressing here a little bit, just showing you how deep this all goes. And these are actually also astrological keys for the silver gate and the golden gate. These have to do with the soul cycle, which was the name of my first book before I renamed it. I'll tell you at the end of the video about it. Silver gate is 26-degree Gemini, and it's the gate of men, also called the gate of Olympus. Yeah, Olympus is one sign further, Cancer. That's the Olymp of gods. It's all the way on the top of the zodiac. Then we have the golden gate, 26-degree Sagittarius. That's the gate of gods or gates of Pluton. Yeah, of course, Pluto is the co-ruler of Scorpio, which rules the sign just before you go through this gate. Yeah, and I'll show you here an image now about these 2 Milky Way gates, because that's why they are. And this Milky River is is in mythology. That's a soul river, okay, which is part of the soul cycle, which is a metaphysical idea here in this model. Nobody's saying Milky Way is really a soul, soul road or something like this, soul passage. But it's conceptualized like this in the zodiac, which is a perfect metaphysical model for this purpose. Okay, so we had here the mainstream now, and we had, yeah, that's good. So we're not going to go to the next topic. Yeah. Oh yeah, we had this one. No. Well, doesn't matter. We're going to go to the Apokalypse now. Take a look at this, which means like Apocalypse means disrobing, unveiling. And this is actually of mind, as we will see. This is what's being disrobed or unveiled is the mind. And it's book 666, and actually it's also called Revelation, and actually it reveals the meaning of the entire New Testament, yeah, which is how to find mental enlightenment. That's the only topic of the entire original Jesus Greek drama, because this is a Greek drama. The Greek drama notes were used for this by the Roman Church. They were actually stolen, and they put this on top of the Egyptian state religion to form Christianity. But I don't want to digress on this. But it's interesting. We were just talking about Pisces, because there's also a character in the Odyssey that's called Calypso. Calypso means hidden. So what is still hidden there? Well, there's still the potential of apotheosis. There's hidden the potential of finding enlightenment for man. There's still hidden all of the goodies which you can get from your higher mind. Yeah. So it's a metaphysical meaning, and that's of this book. And they are used allegories from the zodiac, but a very, very cryptic way in this text. But the doctrine beneath is common to Platonic doctrine, Brahmanical, etc., etc., Egyptian. It's nothing new. Okay, it's actually a disrobing of lower soul. Yeah, and this is an allegory, of course, in terms of clothing, like the clothing soul would have. Because Pisces is also the place of clothing. And actually the glyph of Pisces is a weaver's shuttle, yeah, inherited from ancient Egypt, from the goddess Neith. So it's an unveiling of the higher mind. And a few terms that are frequently used here, also in philosophy, Greek philosophy, etc., is catharsis. This is a defeat of emotions. Emotions are then just waste products in the initiate's path. This is Platonic. It ties also into repenting. That's used in the New Testament. Yeah, Greek metanoia would be repenting, rethinking. Yeah, wiping away your old knowledge and putting in new knowledge, which means you would be spiritually born again, and there would be a mock death, just like in the initiate's path. Pisces is also about purification. The word Februar, you can look that up, that's Latin, which gives you the monthly name February, actually is Februar. I think it means like cleansing something, purifying something, yeah, or fasting. Fasting is also an apophatic reduction if you reduce something, yeah. So the fasting month is traditionally February for this reason. We also have in German then the carnival is called Fastnacht, the night of fasting. We're still in the night zodiac here in Pisces. Or there's carnival, like your flesh will go. All of this has to do with the ideas of the initiate's path. And fasting then is not the idea, I mean it's a symbolic rite of fasting the body, but what should really be the fasting should be a reduction of ego, of the large ego of the sea monster here in Pisces. That should be reduced. And of course, when you do this, when you go into this whole process of initiation, I have first-hand experience in this, so I dare talk about it. There's just heavy psychosomatic. Modern language loves to use these old terms. Psycho is soul, soma is body. The body, mind, soul changes within you that will occur once you go through initiation is actually what in the book of Apokalypse are these earthquakes and there's fire raining from the sky and all of this. These are all allegories or analogies. So these enormous changes in your emotions, your body, your mind, and the 7 chakras, which are the 7 seals that are being opened here in this text, is what occurs. And this is what the text is talking about. And there's also a very, very nice book on this, which I would say is at least 90% correct, based on my experience, which is The Apocalypse Unsealed by James Morgan Price. Price is spelled P-R-Y-S-E. Very nice book. And also by Price, I can also highly recommend the Restored New Testament. For anyone who wants to know how the text of the New Testament has been tampered with and changed by these spiritual basket cases that tampered with these texts, because that's what they are. So I just briefly, I'm not going to go through the whole Apocalypse now, but I'm just going to briefly touch on the 4 horses and the riders. This is such a famous image people have. So very simple, the white horse carries a bow, and that's Jupiter ruling Sagittarius, yeah? Sagittarius has the bow. Then there's a red horse with a sword. This is the red planet Mars ruling Scorpio, yeah? And then there's the black horse with a balance. This is Saturn with a black planet exalting in Libra, and the balance, of course, the scales. And the pale horse that brings death is Mercury ruling Virgo. And the word death here is a little play on Da'at, which is knowledge. So this is the last one, is the horse of knowledge, all right? So these are like psychosomatic protagonists that have been chosen from the zodiac to support this text, or to create this text and interpret it perfectly. And of course the 4 horses are also, you find them, for example, on a quadriga. I show you here an image of a quadriga in Berlin on the Great Sun Door there, because it is a sun door. You see this quadriga and the chariot have very, very high metaphysical relevance across cultures, especially in Hindustan, but also here in Christian mysticism, correct mysticism, yeah. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I wrote an article 10 years ago called The Beast in Berlin. It's in my old blog. You can take a look at that. It's pretty good. It's accurate still. So the book with the 7 seals, what's that? What's the book with the 7 seals? That's of course man, because the 7 seals, just like in the Apocalypse, are the 7 ganglia, or 7 chakras. Yeah. And essentially this whole book is dealing with the self-conquest. Yeah, you're conquesting your own lower self, you're defeating it. Yeah, just like this guy is doing here, yeah, in the Perseus myth. So let's just briefly go in the Beast 666, which is a human number, the text tells us. I told you this is constellation Cetus, it's the inflated ego that must be tamed, and you find this, for example, as we said, as Charybdis, the giant whirlpool in the Homerian Odyssey. You also find this in the Old Testament when Jonah, which is like a Jesus prototype, has to enter the giant fish. Yeah, the giant fish. It doesn't say whale, by example, anywhere that it's a whale. It also says it just says it's a big fish in the original text. And then there's of course the Kraken in the Perseus myth. Yeah, my friend Perseus here is also a giant sea monster that must be defeated. And actually he's being petrified. Yeah, petrification. You have the word Petros again, the rock. Petrification is a theme in Pisces again, where actually everything becomes still, which is talking about the functions of your mind, you know, before you reactivate them again. So you can exit from the great ego, like from the whale monster or the big fish, or you can slay it, or you have the petrification theme of Perseus here. And then we have just left with the number 666, and that's actually, you have to see the zodiac is a mind model. It actually has 36 decans, so each sign has 3 decans. That's 12 times 3, that's 36. And now I ask you to do this yourself. You add the numbers 1, 2, 3, until you get to 36. The sum total of all of these numbers is 666. Okay, it's the sum total of all of the aspects of your mind are here called 666. Okay, these compose your lower soul, your character, your ego, the human mind. Okay, it's a human mind and it's also a human number, just like the text tells us. So all of this is about the initiate's path, what I told you, which is about metaphysical recollection or a remembering of what? Of higher mind. Yeah, and this is precisely as proposed by various ancient scriptures. And as I said, I do have first-hand experience in this. I know actually the precise initiation path, how it works. And this is how and why I know all these things, by the way. Yeah. So I just told you one last secret I'll give you, because it's being said that Israel is being renewed in the end times. Yeah. And once you understand that Israel, the one who wrestles with God, is actually an allegory for the zodiac, then you understand this also. And this is why Israel has 12 tribes. Okay, as you can see, once you realize the truth in these scriptures, what it really is, you see that the modern people are just 100% lost in this. I mean, including theology, including academia, general opinion. I mean, it's just they're all mistaken in this. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, but there is no truth in the mainstream, and the mainstream holds no truth. So it's always just half truths or just lies. Yeah. So the biggest goal, for example, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead was to pass with the mind boat. That's an allegory also through the waters of Pisces, and you know, the soul cries out in the underworld, oh Lord, oh God, please don't let me drown in these waters of profanity and, you know, average knowledge. Please, you know, let me stand up from the crowd and let me find spiritual illumination. Yeah, this is what this is all about. I hope you enjoyed the video. And leave your comments below here in YouTube. That helps the algorithm. I don't have many viewers, but I'm still having fun doing these videos. And of course, I have a book out. I say this, yeah, it's called Tropical Astrology, Language of the Mysteries. You can order it on a German site, tradition.de. And this contains all the solutions, so it's a bit spoiler alert. If you want to take your own mental journey through all of this, you know, don't buy it, because there's also all the solutions in it. And I do recommend, if you're interested in the Apocalypse, get the book by James M. Price.